Today is the day I've been waiting for a long time, and it is the day I get to drive the Rivian R2. So we just came in compared to a Tesla Model Y, and I'm just gonna go take this thing on a ride. Kind of just get a sense of how this thing drives and compare some notes. You can actually control with the premium version the semi-adaptive dampers, so you actually get some control over if you get a firm, soft, or medium ride, which I'm pretty interested in. The first thing I'm initially feeling is that I see way more of the hood of the vehicle when I'm driving. I don't have a hard time understanding where the corners of the Tesla Model Y are. I hear that's like somewhat of a common complaint from people. But this does give you really good visibility. Your rear visibility is really good in this car, and side visibility is good, but I would say just okay for this class of car. Like if you've ever driven like a Honda CR-V or a Toyota RAV4, I actually think those have better side visibility.
And how do we change the sound that the turn signal makes? It's really annoying.
You can't.
That comes with the car? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's gonna be a problem.
Really?
Yeah, it sounds like chalk to me, or nails on a chalkboard.
Interesting.
That doesn't change at all. That might be a deal breaker.
For you, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. The ventilated seats I feel more than in the Tesla. From a driving dynamics perspective, if you've driven like non-Tesla or non-EV first companies, a lot of those cars can feel kind of like floaty. They still drive almost as if they were internal combustion engine cars. This drives like an EV. I have regen set to high, and I like it. If I take my foot off the accelerator just a tiny bit, it doesn't jolt me too much, but when I really fully take it off, it's pretty good. Sound isolation in here is quite good. We are only going 36 miles per hour on a fairly well-paved road, but it feels good, if not slightly better than the Tesla Model Y at these speeds. So it does have quite a big pep. It's not as aggressive on the initial like frontline acceleration. So the second you like the quarter of a second that you put it down, there's almost like as if there's like a really subtle buildup. But then once it builds up for that maybe quarter of a second, it really goes. These halo wheels, they're really cool. They have like this really nice resistive click to them. It's like a tactile physical control, but it's dynamically, you know, adjustable through software, so it can do a whole bunch of different things. I'm a pretty big fan of that. Having a driver display in the front isn't a huge deal to me. I know a lot of people like that a lot, but because I'm so used to the Model Y, you know, I'm just used to having everything on the center screen here. Yeah, there's a lot of power in this performance version, and this performance version is the one that I'm thinking about getting because it does have those adaptive dampers, and it's going to give you the best off-roading performance, which is actually the main reason that I'm interested in this car. The Model Y is a great everyday driver, but around us there are so many trails and so many places that you kind of just need a slightly higher vehicle to get to, and so the Rivian seems like it'll be a really great choice for that. The sound system was okay. It was like all right. So in that U-turn, I was able to make it into the middle lane, but there is a median, so probably pretty similar turning radius to the Tesla Model Y. I liked the sound stage of it. It was pretty like easy to listen to, but the speaker quality themselves, they just weren't as clear as my car. So that is going to be something that I would consider a downgrade coming from a Tesla Model Y. Everything that you touch in here feels pretty decent. So the cloth headliners, all right. The steering wheel, I do really like the feel of the steering wheel. All this stuff above the waist feels pretty good. And then when you go below that, there's like cheaper plastic feeling. That's not a huge deal because you don't typically touch all of that stuff down below the waist, but it's a good indicator of where they were cutting costs. So I turned universal hands-free on, just so I can go into the settings and then put it into all-purpose mode, and I want a softer ride feel just because I'm curious how soft this ride can get. So I'm gonna go and just like drive into a parking lot or something. I do really like the character and the look and feel in the UI in the system. So if you look at the screen, just like fun animations and all that sort of stuff. Even just being in the Rivian showroom, you get this sense that like there's just a lot of fun going on. You know, there's all about adventure, but you know, most people who buy these cars, very similar to most people who buy trucks, aren't going to be like hauling, you know, massive amounts of lumber in their truck bed. Same thing as this. Most of the people who are buying this car, this Rivian R2 in particular, aren't going to be like going off-roading multiple times a month or like doing all that crazy stuff. Really, it's about like just having a really good, enjoyable car to drive. And I do think this is going to be it for a lot of people. So just going over a speed bump, I would certainly say that that is softer than my current car. Yeah, it definitely gives me more confidence both in the ground clearance, but also just like the feel of the car going over those bumps, that this is going to be a much more capable off-roader. Not that I really needed to test that, because you can kind of just see looking at the two cars side by side, but it felt good. And the stability of the car and sort of the build of the car feels pretty confident to me. Like, I'm not really hearing any rattles, creaks, or squeaks. That being said, it's a brand new car right off the production line, so I would expect it not to be, but I mean, after my experience with EVs, who knows? I'm gonna bring all the windows down just to, even though it's 100 and whatever degrees, let's just give it a try. Pressing this button. So with this, even the rear drop glass goes down. I can't really judge it right now, given that it's 105 degrees out. I don't know how airy it's feeling right now. It's just hot. But I will say that's nice to have, both if you have something like a longer item that can't fit in there, or also just, you know, to get some nice breeze. The seats feel quite comfortable. So the back is slightly more conforming to me than the Tesla seats, but the actual, like, the bottom part, the cushion that you're sitting on, feels less conforming. So like, it's less bucketed in the bottom, but a little bit more bolstering in the back. Another really big thing that I'm interested in is universal hands-free and what ends up becoming of Autonomy Plus. Having autonomy features in a car, to me, has basically become a must. And ironically, one of the reasons that I'm also been really interested in Rivian is because they're still letting you buy their autonomy feature outright, and it's $2,500. Now, I was prepared to pay the $8,000 for FSD on Tesla, and they took away that option. To be honest, it did make me feel a little bit like I would rather buy something that I don't have to pay a monthly subscription for. Another U-turn. This actually felt pretty tight. As far as driving dynamics, to me, it feels like a very easy car to drive. I like the combination of feeling like I'm in a bigger vehicle, something that's a little boxier, a little higher up off the ground, but also still very easy to drive. It gives me the sense that I have more utility, but I'm not like giving anything up by having this space. Like the acceleration, braking, turning, it feels compact enough for me to like not stress, because when I've driven like bigger trucks, it's just like, especially in a city, I don't want to deal with that. But this, I do have a sense of confidence. It almost feels on the inside like a bigger car than it actually is. Because you've got this boxy shape and because the rear space feels so big, it feels as if I feel like I'm in a much bigger car than my Tesla Model Y, but the wheelbase and the actual like total length of the car, the two cars are very similar. I guess we'll see how I feel parking it, but I really don't think that that's going to be an issue. Do you have any thoughts so far?
I don't like the sound that the turning thing makes.
Yeah, I have heard some people say that. To me, it's just like, I don't know, it's just a sound, but it's interesting that I've heard that multiple times from multiple people now. I think when this car has point-to-point self-driving, in the same way that Tesla does, even with, you know, you still have to look around and use your eyes, this car is gonna kill it. It's a great package, decent price, not quite as, you know, affordable as the base tier Tesla Model Y. It's a bit more capable in terms of being like an SUV, being able to go a little bit off-road with that 9.5 inches of ground clearance. The experience on the inside feels great. Like, it doesn't feel like those older Tesla Model Ys where it's like, you know, you can kind of tell that it's a cheap car on the inside. This feels like a nice car. I'm really interested in how the sort of ocean gray, the lighter interior looks, because I do gravitate toward lighter interior cars. Yeah, in terms of driving this car, there's not a lot to complain about. All right, let's see how I feel backing this car up. So I actually haven't even like turned on the front-facing camera, but this does have 360 view. The lines are pretty responsive. There's a good sense of scale, and the image is super clear actually. The image looks better than the Tesla cameras. Have some parking sensors on the front, which is interesting because I'm actually not going to be looking at the front very much, but yeah, that was easy. Press into park and we're good. Trying to get out of the heat for a little bit, but after wrapping up the drive, I do have a few thoughts. The biggest thing that comes to my mind is that it was easy. Like, the car just feels like an easy car to live with, and that's a bit different than I was actually expecting. I was expecting to get in and be like, wow, this is going to be like an adventure vehicle. I'm going to feel the off-road capability in my drive. But when I sat in it and drove it and think about it, I feel like the experience of living with the R2 is going to be a lot like living with like a Toyota RAV4 or CR-V. Like, they're just easy cars to live with and drive. They're big enough, they're capable enough. The R2 is a bit extra capable for the performance package, at least when it comes to like just horsepower, torque, 0 to 60 and all that sort of stuff. But like, especially the rear wheel drive version, that's gonna be like an everyday car. The lowest spec of the R2 is gonna be priced like the higher specs of the CR-V and RAV4. And that does put it in this category of cars that people will have. Even though the Model Y is the best-selling car in the world, it's got a lot of stuff. It's got a lot of character. It's got like, you know, fart mode and arcade and theater and all these like really cool, fun things that I enjoy, but not everybody cares about. And there's so much more to play with and tinker with, and I personally find that really fun. The R2 feels like a stripped down version of a Model Y, but in a boxier frame with a little bit more ground clearance. And it can kind of just do most things that people will need it to do. One big thing I didn't like actually was the use of capacitive controls. For the lights inside, it was perfectly fine, but for like the rear drop window and the trunk and frunk, I don't know, I found them a little finicky. I wish there were a more clear and immediate response to when it was detecting my input. My plan is still to get one, probably when LiDAR comes out, because they said that they're gonna use the LiDAR to enable like eyes-free driving. And you know, how much do I believe that the Rivian R2 will become a full robo-taxi and let you drive without looking at it and just like, you know, napping? I don't know, but I am really interested in that technology, and so I will want to get it and test it out. Driving the car just gave me a very different impression. It wasn't like when I got into Tesla for the first time and had all these crazy new things, and like there was a learning curve and I was excited about learning about all this stuff. With the R2, it feels like I can just go in, drive it, and it'll be like the do-everything car. And while the brand does a really great job of like, you know, showing that adventure and like having it be an aspirational vehicle, at the core of it, it's like an adventure brand that's selling an everyday car. So although there are some downsides, like the audio system's kind of mid and the capacitive buttons everywhere are kind of, and the software also I think could use a little bit of a usability overhaul, even if the UI is actually really fun looking. But it's easy to live with, it's approaching affordable, and it can do most things. And I think that combination is really going to work well for Rivian. So I'm looking forward to being able to get my hands on one of these cars with LiDAR, probably, I don't know, early 2027, but stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again real soon.